Frank Curzio here with another live video, and I wanted to talk about one of the things going on in the news right now, which is how Buffett has sold his airlines, Delta and Southwest. He sold positions in them. Uh, you have to realize that he owns more than 10% of those airlines. So if you're an institution that owns more than 10%, you have to report these buys and sells right away. And otherwise, you could wait to the end of the quarter and report in your 13F. Meaning, now that he's below 10%, he could sell the entire position. You're not going to know to mid-August. That's when the next 13Fs come out. To a bigger point, and the value investors out there, I want to explain something to you because what Buffett did today is pretty cool. Yes, he took a loss on the position. Yes, he added to his Delta position in early March, which was $45 million at $46 a share. It's trading at 22 today. So why did he decide to sell? We had Delta in our portfolio, and I sold on February 25th. And the reason why I didn't sell earlier is because when they announced China was closed, I knew I could model for Delta, and Delta, just ignore the flights to China, we'll be okay. Once I saw it spreading, we sold it on February 25th, and we only took an 8% loss. The stock's down 65% since then. Um, what Buffett did today, I know it's like a back and forth, and value investors are always saying you should buy all the way and the way down. If you like it, just keep buying and buying and hold it forever. That's not what you're supposed to do as a value investor, okay? It is if your thesis remains the same. If your thesis changes, this is very important, guys. If your thesis changes on any stock at all, you have to sell it. I love Ford. China sales were starting to go higher. Everything that was negative about the company was positive. Getting the technology, I sold it immediately. We took a small loss on it because they shut down China. My thesis changed, but you have to be willing in this market to change, even on a month's notice, like Buffett did, or even on a day's notice, depending on if mortgage insurers are going to get bailed out, right? We're not even talking about mortgage insurers. We're not talking about REITs. We're talking about companies that are not paying their rent, and we're going to backstop the employees. What about the REITs? If the REITs don't get paid, they're all going out of business. So if you're not backstopping that industry, you have to be willing to sell, even if it's on a day or a week's notice, if your thesis changed. Don't be stubborn. The stocks don't know you. It's not a personal attachment to them. It's just a piece of paper that you think is going to go higher through to the company. But you have to take your feelings out of the equation, especially if you're a value investor, because value investors like to buy stuff and hold it forever and ever and ever and just buy it lower if it's cheaper. But if your thesis changes, again, I have a value background from my dad for 20 years. But if your thesis changes, you have to be willing to sell the stock immediately. That's what Buffett did today. Yes, he's taken a loss, but this is going to determine, you're looking at the airlines. This isn't something that's going to bounce back right away. A lot of people aren't going to take flights going forward. It's going to change people's feelings. Sentiment's going to change. So I like Warren Buffett's move here. But guys, remember, if you're going to buy any stock in this market, you have to be willing to change immediately if your thesis changes because of all the government stimulus that's coming out, all the news that's coming out, more debts, the coronavirus resurface. Again, you have to be very nimble here. Pick away at some of your stocks, but you pick away, be very, very smart. And make sure at all costs that if your thesis uh, does change, make sure you sell those stocks. I'm Frank Curzio. We'll back to you guys soon. Take care.